Patty. I am your Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan's Wellbeing Coordinator, and today we are going to be making protein balls. So there's tons of ways that you can make this, but these are just a couple ways that I've been making them, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. So one's going to be a little chocolate flavor, and one's going to be just a simple non-chocolate flavor, especially if you can't have any cocoa. It's a good substitute for that if you want to make protein balls. So what you can use is any nut butter that you want. I just have almond butter. We have some peanut butter that we use. We only get like dry roasted, nothing added, no sugar, plain peanut butter. We try to buy organic peanut butter as well. We always are mindful of the amount of peanut butter that we eat, just because the peanuts can tend to have, when they grow, they can get moldy, and so that just kind of creates a little gut dysbiosis from eating too much of those. So we're just always mindful that we buy organic and that it's just plain, nothing in it, simple ingredients. So as you can see, it just says dry roasted peanuts in it. You can find this at any store, but what that is then just minimize the amount of sugar and the amount of added stuff in it that we don't really tend to need. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, make these nut butter balls. And these ones, I'm going to use the almond butter for this, and this is going to be the ones that are going to be the non-peanut butter flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 cup of nut butter. So I tend to not measure this too much. A cup is kind of, for me, is going to be 2 heaping spoonfuls of nut butter. So it might be that we're going to finish off this container. So I'm going to do that, add that to it. Awesome. Just kind of scraping it, getting it in there. The bottom, especially when you just buy plain nut butters or peanut butter, you'll notice that sometimes the bottom gets dry. So it's always fun to scrape it out. So now I have about a cup of that in there. Put that off to the side. And so what we use is we have beef protein. So it's grass-fed, unflavored beef protein. So you can get any type of protein. You can get a vegan protein, plant-based protein, anything that you want. We just use this because I don't do very well with eating dairy, so we get a non-dairy brand. So this is going to be about 1/4 of a cup of protein powder into there. You can add coconut flour in there as well. So a lot of recipes will call for coconut flour. I'm using our protein powder just about the coconut flour because it's still going to help be that dry mixture that helps kind of bind it together. But you can use coconut flour to kind of bind that together. If you don't have coconut flour, this will add a little more carbs to your protein balls, but you can add ground up oats or just regular non-ground up oats. So that will be another binder to this recipe. Then I'm going to have you add about 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I usually just count when I'm pouring it, so I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's about 1/4 of a cup. Nice, slow and steady. You can actually measure it out. And then we also have stevia, liquid stevia. It's pure stevia, nothing added to it. It's clear. And so we usually get that too for a little bit of sweetener that we'll add to stuff. Sometimes we both do okay with it. We definitely don't do well if we eat a ton of it, but it's something that it's a little nicer too with our blood sugar, and then it also is not too bad on our stomach. Then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of chia seed. So that's about like a palm full is a tablespoon, and I'll add another palm full of that. So 2 tablespoons of that. And then I'm just going to add a dash of cinnamon to this recipe. Just a dash of cinnamon. So now I'm going to mix it up. since our nut butter was towards the end, I'm going to need to kind of chop it up a little bit just because it's a little more dry towards the end. So I need to really incorporate the ingredients in there. Make sure it all folds. And you'll kind of notice if you use coconut flour, it's going to be a little less dense, a little less moist in this, and that's totally fine. It will just roll easily, be a less mess. So I'm just going to chop it up. You can also do this in a blender. So blending these ingredients together, making them smooth. You, instead of chia seed, you can add flaxseed, whatever you feel like you'll do well with. So, usually sometimes I'll just put them straight in the container and I'll layer it with parchment paper in between each of the balls and then put it in the freezer so they set up. And then when you're ready to use them, just take them out, put them in the fridge. And then they'll kind of like thaw and eat them. So I'm just gonna roll these into little balls about smaller than a golf ball, about a tablespoon worth. And you can definitely double this recipe so that you have more, and you just keep them in your freezer, and you know that like, okay, I'm gonna need a snack today. Just pull them out, put them in your lunch, and they'll thaw by the time you eat them. So. You can use any nut butter. You can use sun butter if you don't do well with nuts, but you do well with sun butter. Just put those in there. That ball's going to be a little bigger one because I don't want to make a small one. And the base, you can always make these smaller if you want to make the portions smaller. So that you're kind of portion controlling that. I'm gonna wash my hand. And there you have your butter balls. So you have enough of those that you can just have one or two little snacks throughout the week. You can make extra for the kiddos to eat. But it's good fats, good protein in there so that you're kind of like, okay, I need something quick. I need to get my protein in for the day. It'll have those good amount of nutrients ratios in there. So quick, easy. Then you just put them in the freezer, let them set up maybe for about 30 minutes, and then take them out, put them in a container. Or you can just put them in the container like I said, layer it with parchment paper in between so they don't get stuck. But when you thaw it out, they'll get unstuck. So it's not that big of a deal. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to reuse this bowl and not wash it out. But you can feel free to wash yours in between. So the next recipe, what it is going to be I'm going to use peanut butter for that recipe. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stir up our peanut butter. Add about a cup of peanut butter to the mixture. Like I said, that's about a couple heaps. Okay, add one more scoop. Then I'm going to add a little bit of cocoa powder, so about 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. 1, 2. And then you can add collagen to it. So say you want to have some collagen, and collagen, there's a ton of different good nutrients for collagen and good things for our health. So you can always add the collagen instead of the protein. You want to, or add the coconut flour, or add both. They might be a little dry, so you might have to add a little more liquid to it if you add both of them together. So I'm just going to add the protein. So But add a 1/4 cup of protein to that. You can always double the protein as well. And then I'm going to add, actually I'm going to show you with the stevia. I'm just going to add a couple drops of stevia with that. But if you aren't and you're using maple syrup or honey or something for your sweetener, you're going to add about a 1/4 cup of sweetener of that. So I'm just going to add about 6 drops of that stevia to it. And now I'm going to mix it around. You can add the chia seeds to it. I'm going to leave these plain, no chia seeds. You can add flax to them if you want to. So I'm just going to really incorporate it. Fold it in, incorporate all the ingredients into it. Kind of like fold it, mush it around. Make sure it all gets well incorporated. So these are just going to be chocolate peanut butter balls. You can add some nuts to it too if you want to add texture to it. Add some like shaved almonds to it or ground up walnuts, anything you want. I'm just going to keep it simple. You can add also sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, any of those things to kind of add that little crunch if you're looking for that crunch, that sweet crunch, that sweet crunchy flavor. Slide this over here. And what I'm going to do the same thing. Add that to it. Rolling them into little balls. Now if you add like oatmeal to these, add a little more substance. They're almost like granola bars or post-workout food. That will add a little more texture too as well to these balls. These ones are a little big. I'm actually going to break these up so they're a little smaller. Just so they're a little more bite-sized. Okay. Oh, I have some left over. Let's add this to one of the balls. Add that to this little guy. We'll kind of set up. Wash your fingers and I'll show you kind of the final product. And this is kind of what they'll look like. Like I said, you can add even like dried cherries, cranberries, anything to them. So it's like a chocolate cranberry or a chocolate cherry protein ball. So feel free to add nuts, add seeds. You would just kind of grind them up, or you can add them whole. But adding those to them, just sprinkle some maybe on top, or roll them into the balls. You could add just about like a couple tablespoons of nuts and seeds to the recipe, and then that adds a little more texture. I just kind of wanted to keep things simple, but you can add those to it. And I'll kind of do another video that kind of shows you how to bump these up a notch, but very simple, very quick. And then I'm just going to put these in the freezer for about 30 minutes, let them set up, and then put them in a container. So I hope you enjoyed today's recipe. Very quick, very simple, good for the kiddos, good for you. Quick thing to grab and go. If you like the video or you watch the video, please comment below or like the post, and I will give you credit for the Strive for 5 program, where if you earn 5 points, that means you'll earn 8 hours of PTO. So make sure you comment below so that I can give you those points for that. Like I said, I'm Maddie. I'm the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan's Wellbeing Coordinator. I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.